We are The Source, WOCA, news, talk, sports, and more.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. If I even began to pretend to know something about prophecy, I would get it wrong, I'm sure. But you know, it always fascinates me, and I don't know, you know, if there's anything to any of that at all. But nevertheless, I remember years ago, we had a guest who came on and he told us about, and this was a long time ago, Rob. This might have even been the other show we did at the other station, but the guest basically told us that there was a prophecy that there was a limited number of popes.
Yes.
That eventually there would be the last pope. And the one right now, Pope Francis, if this prophecy is true, this would be the last pope. I'm not really sure what happens after that. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that the guy was right. It's just that when things are predicted and then they happen. See, now here's the thing. If there's another pope, they say, oh, I guess the guy was just full of baloney. You know, You wait all this time to find that out, which is what we did on when the year 2000 came, remember?
Yes.
Well, something's going to happen. Everybody's predicting it. Then next morning you woke up and everything was fine. Yeah, happy birthday, Robin.
It's my mom.
The big sign outside, happy birthday, Robin. We have a guest on the phone, and he knows it's your birthday, too. I told him off the air, Robin. William Brazzel is on the phone. He's written an interesting book. I'm looking forward to finding out more about it. The book is called, let me make sure I have this right, The Seventh Holy Man. It's one part of a thoroughly researched document about the Vatican, and two parts sci-fi and fantasy is what it says here. William Brazzel, good morning, William. Thank you for waiting through that. Good morning.
Good morning, Larry. Good morning, Robin.
And
happy birthday, Robin.
She just stepped out. Her mom just walked in, so it was kind of a little bit of a distraction there. Well, thank you for being on the air with us this morning. Let me just ask you this. Is this book somehow connected with any prophecies at all?
No, it's not, Larry.
No, okay. Is it totally fiction?
Yes.
Oh, okay. But
there's some reality, you know, from exorcism and things like that are in the book.
Oh, okay. So that's the part of that you did the research for?
I researched that. I researched, geography in Italy and so on, where the story takes place.
Oh, wow. Are you in New Jersey right now?
I am.
Okay, my notes say you're from New Jersey. We've been remembering September 11th all morning long.
Yes.
Almost everybody around here is a transplant from somewhere, and many of them from New Jersey and New York. Do you? I'm not to take a detour from what we should be talking about with your book, but when you write about the Pope and we're talking about September 11th, you often wonder if some of these things aren't connected.
Well, you look at the book, and there are some similarities to some of the things going on today. But you referenced before Pope Francis, and that he might be the last pope. I think there's probably one more pope coming, and they call it the eighth pope. And I think Francis is just a prelude to that next pope.
Oh, really? Now, that sounds like prophecy to me.
No? It's my own prophecy.
It's your own? Well, why would we stop having popes? Why would it end?
Unless the world ends. I think that's the only thing that would cause that to stop. And the way things are going right now, God only knows.
So let's get back to what you said about the exorcisms. Mm-hmm. I've often wondered about that. Let's just talk about that. Is that part of the story here?
There is some mixed into it. Yes, there is part of the story in there.
Let me start from a different place. Let's get a thumbnail sketch of the storyline. Give us like a movie trailer version of the story.
All right. Basically, the Seventh Holy Man takes place in Italy, and there's a destruction of the church going on, and it's emanating from the Vatican. And the main character, who is Sean Carroll, he's a newspaper reporter from New York. He's been investigating the goings-on in the Vatican. And he finds a cryptic link between an ancient civilization called Malar that was located in the Po River Valley and what's happening in the Vatican. The church is near the end; it's near being destroyed when they discover that the seven holy men have to be resurrected. These are the people who represent the seven spirits of God. And their resurrection is not a guarantee that they can stop the momentum of the demons, but it's the only chance they stand of stopping it.
Wow.
And that's the way it runs. And there's a battle at the end, of course, the good versus evil. And it's very picturesque, as they say.
You know what's one thing when we talk about resurrections, and when you talk about the resurrection of Jesus, for example, it's always been like a big mystery. And I know, and I'm going on a limb here, but some of the stuff that we hear about DNA and genetics and all that, it almost sounds like we might, I don't know. I mean, if you get the DNA from somebody and you create a new human, I don't know that that's the same human that had that DNA before. It's just, I mean, it would be a different soul, wouldn't it be?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how the soul would transfer, how another soul would be created.
I don't either.
It just doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't either. But when you're resurrecting the seven, we would assume, are these seven popes?
No, these are seven holy men. They're men of the church, and they had lost one of the holy men in the beginning of the book, and that holy man is resurrected at the end to complete the circle of the seven holy men.
So did you write this after Pope Francis became the Pope?
Actually, I was writing it around the time that he was becoming the Pope.
Wow. And was this kind of chilling for you? I mean, did it kind of make you wonder about your own writing?
Well, it made me wonder about a lot of things, but the Pope, who is referred to in this book, Pope Christian I, he's a lot like Pope Francis in his demeanor and the way he treats the church and his vision.
Are the popes in touch with all of the Catholic churches individually around the world at some point?
What was that, Robin? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Are the popes all in touch with all of the Catholic churches around the world, each individual Catholic church in every community at some point?
I think through the bishops he's in touch. He couldn't possibly physically or mentally be in contact with every church diocese or every individual church itself. But through the bishops, which he's loosening the strings on the church as far as letting them become a little more liberal, letting them take on more responsibility locally. I think basically it's like having the Indians with their ear to the railroad. They know, or to the railroad line. They know what's going on closer to home than the Pope would know.
In my notes, when it says that this is one part of a thoroughly researched document about the Vatican, and then it says, and 2 parts sci-fi fantasy. So do we as the reader understand which is which?
Well, a lot of the story, the sci-fi part, is the creation of the demons and the exorcism and so on. But a lot of the research relative to history that's in that book about ancient civilizations and the Roman civilization and locations within the Italy are thoroughly researched. It's been done by satellite. I've done it with maps, all kinds of history that I've read. So it's
Do you know, sometimes when we think about the world and we think about the battle of good versus evil and the battle of God versus the devil or whatever for control of the earth, I mean, we have to wonder. We don't know much, you know. Somebody said to me once, how can you know, and not just about me, but I mean, how can any of us know a whole lot when just, a few decades ago we were still pooping in our pants? Huh?
Yeah.
True. But you know something? The Internet has made a big difference with people. In fact, there was something I had read not too long ago in researching, and I found that the number of demonic possessions has increased tremendously.
Really?
And they're attributing a lot of it to the Internet, where there's black magic and there's devil worship, satanic worship, etc. And they say that a lot of this is coming from the Internet.
Oh, there was
quite interesting.
There was a thing I saw too. I don't know if you saw this. McDonald's had a Ouija board Happy Meal. Did you see this? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it just got protested by so many people who believe that the Ouija board is actually a way to let the devil into your life or something like that.
Well, I read an article about that too. Yes, it was. They were attributing it to that, but I don't know whether that's true or not. But
I don't either.
But the thing, I think a lot of people, the way they get demonic possession, quite honestly, is through their life, in the sense that the way they live their life. If they go through abortion or they go through murder or whatever, they destroy a family. Those kinds of things allow, I think, Satan to enter the body.
Interesting.
And
that's like scars, as they say.
And they seem not to have any remorse about that. It's like
That's
they're
correct.
totally removed.
Well, if you think about it, how many of the prisoners in prison today are possessed?
Oh, there you
I
go.
don't think there's an answer for that, But those are people, a lot of them without conscience.
This conversation is getting more and more fascinating as we get deeper and deeper into it. I'm glad we have a whole half hour to be with you. We're up against the halfway point, though. We need to take a break, and then we'll definitely be fair to the book and find out about future books that you have to have in plan. Planned. We'll take a little break, and we'll be right back with William Brazzel. He's up in New Jersey. Were you close to to South Manhattan at the time of the attacks?
I could see some things from here. We have a mountain here that we can see what was going on.
Oh, my goodness. All right, we'll take a little break. We'll be right back.
myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Today will be partly sunny. There can be a thunderstorm along the coastal areas this morning and across the interior this afternoon, the high 88 to 92. Partly cloudy tonight. Late at night, there may be a shower or thunderstorm along the coast. Low 70 in a few inland spots, 77 on the coast. Tomorrow, times of clouds and sun. A morning shower or thunderstorm at the beaches. Only in the afternoon, though, across the interior, the high 87 to 91. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Joe Lundberg.
Who would you feed if you had 50 chicken sandwiches from Chick-fil-A? WOCA and Chick-fil-A in the Paddock Mall have teamed up to reward one organization with 50 chicken sandwiches as a way of saying thanks for the great work that organization is doing in our community. And we need your help. See, there are so many great people doing great things that we need nominations. You can nominate your own organization or any organization you choose. Simply send an email to WOCA@WOCA.com. And in 350 words or less, tell us why the organization you are nominating should receive 50 free chicken sandwiches from WOCA and Chick-fil-A at the Paddock Mall. We'll review your nominations and then select one deserving organization each month. We'll announce the winner and even read the winning entry on the air. Make sure to include the contact name and phone number of the organization that you are nominating. And thanks from your friends at WOCA and Chick-fil-A in the Paddock Mall.
Are you tired of not using your home's outdoor space for entertaining or relaxation because of all the bugs and leaves? Consider adding a beautiful screen room or glass enclosure. We are Superior Aluminum and Design, a family-owned and operated business with 20 years experience in the aluminum industry, and we are accredited by the Better Business Bureau. If you appreciate superior workmanship, call Superior Aluminum and Design at 817-8058 or visit us on the web at superioraluminiumdesign.com.
Veterans are the foundation upon which our freedom is built. Listen to The Source, WOCA, each Thursday at 9 a.m. to Veterans News with Hank Whittier from Vets Helping Vets. You'll hear tributes, information on veterans issues, and stories that will make you laugh, cry, and feel proud. Veterans News always focuses on the military, past and present, and on our first responders. Veterans News is brought to you each week by Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens and Nursery, keeping you blooming since 1952.
News Talk 1370. WOCA invites you to discover your full business potential. News Talk Radio is the perfect environment for your advertising. WOCA's News Talk format pinpoints information-hungry, better educated, high-income adults. So use us to talk to them. Call 732-8000. 732-8000. We're Ocala News Talk Radio. News Talk 1370 WOCA.
All right, 12 minutes before 10 o'clock. I was yucking it up with Robin a little bit here off the air. All right, this is a fascinating topic. William Brazzel. You know, William, when I think of exorcisms, I think of the movie The Exorcist.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always had a thought about that maybe you can fill in. Like, I know it's Hollywood, but why would a devil possess a little girl only to be like nasty with her family? You would think that if you're going to possess a human being, it's to wreak havoc in the world, like crash planes into buildings or something.
Well, I guess there's something to be said for that, but I think the thing that I see, and I argued with somebody about this, a lot of people who are evil basically become possessed. But the one, if you think about it, Satan would not want to go after the evil ones already, because they already have they're already demonic as it starts. They want to go after the good people. Like, for instance, Mother Teresa, before her death, the Bishop de Souza had her exorcism performed on her because he thought that she was being invaded by Satan.
Wow.
And it turned out that wasn't true, but he did have the exorcism performed.
Have you ever seen an exorcist? What do you call it? Have you ever been with a possessed person in the truest sense of that expression?
I'm with you, Larry. I mean, does that speak for itself?
I hope not. Gosh, I hope not.
I haven't. To answer your question, no, I haven't. The closest I've gotten is I've seen The Exorcism. The Exorcist, I mean. And
the movie?
Fascinating, yes.
Oh, okay.
And some of that is true, what they do.
Well, okay, and so that's, I guess what I'm trying to get into is I'm trying to figure out if when you're writing about stuff like that in your books, is it something you believe is true, or are you simply writing from a scientific entertainment point of view? Or science fiction, science fiction.
I guess a combination of both, but I do believe in exorcism. I believe that there is evil in the world. I do believe that people become possessed. But there's one thing that people don't realize. There's not always demonic possession. There's a thing called demonic affliction, whereby you're not possessed, but you're influenced by exterior influences, devil talking to you, telling you to do things. That's where other evil comes from as well, not necessarily possession.
We had read a statement that you had written that Henry Sebastian de Souza, he said that he ordered an exorcism on Mother Teresa.
That's correct.
Tell us about that.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was when I was out of the world. Okay. Do you think the Pope now? We had a news story this morning that there was a gentleman enlisted in the U.S. Air Force, and before he could re-up into the Air Force, that he had to pledge to God that he would serve his country, and he crossed out that line. He wasn't going to sign that paper or say that phrase, and then the Air Force said he couldn't be a member of the Air Force anymore if he did that. Do you think he's possessed because he won't do that?
No, I don't think he's possessed. I just think he's got an individual point of view, and he doesn't believe in God. Period.
Yeah, that's what the news said. He was an atheist. The book that we're talking about is the Seventh Holy Man. William Brazzel is on the phone to talk about his book, and obviously there are other books in the works. Is that already planned out? I mean, do you know in advance how many books there will be?
Well, for right now I have two. I'm working on my third book, which is going to be my second release. It's called Conflux, and that book takes place here in the United States, and it involves the right-wing militia, whereby all of the different factions combine nationally, and they end up challenging the U.S. government in an actual war.
Wow,
so that's my next book.
Do you know? I mean, once in a while, well, not more than once in a while. I mean, we will look at old fiction and realize that it was somehow predicting the future. And who knows how that happens. There's something in your mind. The writers of the world somehow have it can tap into the pulse of the future or something. I want to ask you a question about the name of the Pope in the book. When you named him Pope Christian the First, it's an interesting name, especially when you say the first. It's almost like he's the first Christian Pope. Was that intentional?
Yes, and there has never been Pope Christian the First. There's never been Pope Christian the Second. It's for some reason that name has never been adopted. Okay,
but as far as turning it around to be the first Christian Pope as opposed to Pope Christian the First, was that what you were suggesting?
Well, I was just suggesting that he was a very holy person, and that using his name Christian was really a good use of the name.
Has anybody from the church hierarchy read your book and then come forward to talk to you about it?
Yeah, a priest friend of mine has, and it hasn't been offensive. It's been, they said, a pleasant read. So everybody seems to be enjoying the book, and I'm glad about that. And you said, Robin, yourself, that you said you enjoyed the book as well. So.
Oh yes, it's a wonderful read, and it's something that I could really get immersed in.
I have been, so I know where you're going.
Yeah, because there are a lot more questions that you bring up in the mind of the readers. So I have to say that. Very well done.
So when we've spoken to authors who've written books that take place in the winter, but they were writing them in the summer, and they will tell us that they get up from their computer and they go outside and they forget that it was hot outside because they've been in this world of cold. Does that happen to you too? I mean, do you get so immersed in as you're writing the book that you're somehow there and you're somehow among the people in the book?
Sometimes that happens. Sometimes it happens. I mean, you have to get into the character sometimes to identify what they are, who they are. And that's what I tried to do. Sean Carroll, who's the lead character in the book, I had to get into his character because I had to understand what he was about. I put a little bit of myself in him. And so authors tend to do that kind of thing.
You must really believe in God, and you must have had that kind of religious upbringing.
Yes, I've been Catholic since I was born. And,
Gosh.
And you were attend church, and you know.
Have you ever been present at an exorcism?
No, never.
No, I sort of kind of asked it before when I asked if you were around somebody who was possessed, but I don't know. I mean, when you're in a church service, for example,
right,
and you see a christening or baptism or whatever, and I mean, it's almost like that's asking God to keep the evil away from this child, or don't you feel that?
It's a form of protection, Larry. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And I was baptized, of course, and I don't know if you were, but I feel it's an element of protection for the child all the way through their lives.
I was baptized in the Bronx. I was.
Okay, we'll forgive you for that.
I have a mission. Let me tell you my mission. I'll tell you our ages. We're 60. Robin just turned 60 today, and I'll be there in February. Anyway, so that's how long ago this goes back to. And I was christened in the Bronx, and I have a plate that my mom and dad bought, I guess, as a fundraiser, and it's got a picture of that church on it. And I've always thought I should bring it up to them, and that's my plan, is to bring it up to that church and say, this is something you guys might want back. It's kind of historical, I guess, for your church.
Fantastic. Very different.
One of the things that's in the news a lot, and this just, again, taking a little side road here from the story of the book, but should the priests be allowed to get married? Certain things, should the Catholic Church allow gay people to be in the church and things like that? Does it always come down from the Pope? Does the way the church goes always dictated by the Pope?
I think the Holy See has a lot to do with that, and the Pope as well. He is basically the ruler of the church, and the Holy See is he's controlling the Holy See, which makes a lot of the doctrine. But I think personally, I don't know if you know this, but the celibacy didn't take effect, wasn't produced into the church until 900 years after Christ died.
I saw something like that just the other day, as a matter of fact. Yeah. I wonder why they decided that would be more holy.
Probably money.
How do you make more money when you're celibate?
Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is not having them marry and having to support a family.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Sorry.
Do you think the young women now, there are as many young women going to be a nun as there were like in the 60s?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And the one thing I like the idea that the Pope would like to have women in the ministry. I think that would be a great move.
Yeah, and I think more people would get into it if they could get married. Well, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I agree. I think there'd be priests who are well-rounded. A lot of priests, if you're not married, you can't understand some of the family structure and family life. I think that would make them better.
In your writing, are you making a statement regarding these things? Are you expressing an opinion?
No. I'm not.
It's just fantasy. I mean, it's science fiction fantasy. Okay.
Well, was there anything that surprised you in your research of the Vatican?
Some of the things that I saw in the geography of the country and the Vatican, I learned a lot of things about the Pope. It was very interesting doing the research. And that's the other thing. When you write science fiction, a lot of people think you just sit down and you write and you write and you write. They don't realize if you're going to write a good book, you have to research it.
Research.
I did tremendous research.
Have you ever been to the Vatican?
No, but I'm going next year.
Are you? Do you know who Samantha Brown is, the Travel Channel lady?
No.
No, well, she doesn't do it anymore, but she's cute, by the way. But she would go on all these little trips, and she'd say, well, here's what the food is, and here's what the rooms look like. Well, she took one of her, and you can look this up probably on YouTube or something, but she goes to the Vatican. Mm-hmm. And I never knew this before, that you stand there and you wait for, this is in, what's that square called? where the Pope comes out?
St. Peter's?
St. Peter's
Yes.
Square, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you stand in St. Peter's Square with hundreds, if not thousands, of other people, and then the Pope comes out, and it's not like church where everybody's real quiet. Like, they cheer like he's a rock star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he is somewhat of a
gives me
rock star
goosebumps.
these days.
Yeah.
He is. He's people are looking up to him. Even people outside of the Catholic religion are looking up to him and commenting of how wonderful he is. What a refreshing individual.
I have a copy of William's book. It's called The Seventh Holy Man. Call me if you want it. It's the rest of us will have to go buy it. William, do you have a website?
I absolutely do, Larry. It's www.sci-fi, that's SCIFI, author, AUTHOR, Brazzel, my last name, BRAZZEL.com.
Okay. William, thank you so much. We'll take a break and be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu.
It has now been 13 years. 13 years since the peace of America.